Oh, not another Star Trek rehash. Boring. When are you gonna make the Roland Emmerich retrospective?
I already told you that, Magic. When hell freezes over. In 1987, The Next Generation marks the beginning of the adventures of the new Enterprise crew on television, including Captain Picard, the emotionless android Data as Spock replacement, and the Klingon Worf as a sign of rapprochement with the former enemies of the Federation. Similar to TOS, there are also some standalone Problem of the Week episodes, but every now and then also cross-episodes and cross-seasonal storylines. More often than the captain, the focus is on the leading officers, sometimes other crew members as well, with insight into their origins, interests and their relationships. In the episode Relics, the TNG crew finds Scotty, the former TOS chief engineer, alive in a transporter buffer who was staying there for 75 years. The very interesting episode illustrates the, from my point of view, more serious approach of TNG in contrast to the more relaxed and not always meant serious TOS. In my opinion, the best known associations with TNG are, among others, the holodeck, where almost anything can be simulated, Q, an almost almighty being with godlike powers, and I guess most famous the Borg from the Delta Quadrant, a civilization of cybernetic enhanced machine humanoid hybrids, aka Cybermen, I meant of course cyborgs, which exist as a collective, aka hive consciousness, trying to assimilate everything and everybody. The nonsense with the Borg Queen has only been around since the feature film First Contact. It was later for ratings reasons recycled and become even more ridiculous in Voyager. In the extremely exciting and ingenious third season final Best of Both Worlds, the Borg assimilate Picard and try to attack Earth as the Federation headquarters is located there. But Picard can be liberated by a risky rescue and relatively simply transformed back, which makes large parts of the so-called plot of Kurt's Trek Picard pointless. But more about Hack Trek in an upcoming video. In 1994, David Carson's Star Trek VII allegedly features a meeting of the generations. But actually, only Kirk, 60 years old according to the official stardate, meets Picard, 66, which sounds for me more like an action old-timer meeting, where the adventure torch is passed from the younger one to the older one. During the first flight/rescue mission of the new Enterprise, they cross a magic energy ribbon, which floats through space, containing the so-called Nexus, Latin for link or connection, or in writer's room language, it's a sunny day, screw writing, I go fishing. After an incident, guest of honor James T. Kirk gets sucked into space and is, similar to the writer's brains, officially declared dead. 78 years later, the crew of the new Enterprise under Captain Picard meets the ruthless Dr. Soren, who was rescued during the Kirk incident and tries now to return into the Nexus at any cost, even accepting the destruction of other worlds. The energy ribbon somehow destroys everything it touches, but at the same time it fulfills all wishes of beings it embraces, as long as they are within the extremely limited scope of the obviously mentally retarded, unimaginative hacks responsible for the so-called story. People can leave the Nexus at any time, appearing wherever and whenever they want, and also take buddies they met there along with them, so really high stakes here, I guess. After Soren has reached his destination and Picard is now also in the Nexus, he leaves it with Kirk because why not, and stops Soren and Kirk dies, no big deal. Star Trek VII Retire Rations made its $35 million budget worldwide more than 3 times back and got quite rightly rather mixed feedback. It's the first Star Trek movie I saw in the cinema back then, and I thought it was okay, since it's still kind of entertaining and has some nice effects. But after rewatching it, it's impossible to ignore the incredible stupid boring story, the recycled effects, the damage done to the canon, the unnecessary integration of people from the old crew, and especially the unworthy departure of Kirk, who does not even get a proper funeral. He's just left behind under some rocks on a random planet. In 1993, Deep Space Nine, which has some similarities to the also excellent series Babylon 5 from the same year, is for the first time not about the Enterprise but about a space station. Similar to TNG, there are also some standalone Problem of the Week episodes, but more often than in any other Star Trek series, many episodes are connected and also there are storylines connecting seasons. In the challenging, extremely complex story, which I watched more often than any other science fiction series, the focus is again on the commanding officers, but in the same amount on other crew members, not Federation members or simply civilians. After the end of the terror occupation of the Bajor by the Cardassians, also as a result of ongoing Bajorian resistance, the previous occupiers withdraw from their nearby station Terok Nor, where they forced Bajorans to process ore. For political stability and as a reaction to Bajor's request to join the Federation, Starfleet now moves into the station, renaming it Deep Space Nine and running it together with Bajor, in which Sisko is the captain and Major Kira second in command. Among the crew is the shapeshifter Odo, at first the only one of his kind with unknown origin. When an artificial stable wormhole to a region of the 70,000 light years away Gamma Quadrant opens up nearby, the previously rather unimportant outpost DS9 moves into the center of various communities of interest, and even more so when on the other side an extremely dangerous enemy, the Dominion, under the leadership of shapeshifters, has revealed itself to conquer the Alpha Quadrant. DS9 is much more realistic and serious than any Star Trek before and after it, and is a double-edged sword, as it is not Star Trek in the sense of its inventor. It's also the reason why I switched completely from the Star Wars camp to the Trekkies. Till then, I really wasn't a fan of Next Generation and only watched it sporadically. But a good friend of mine was already a Trekkie and had TNG and DS9 completely recorded on video, and I got the chance to watch both series on mountains of VHS tapes in a row. For the first time, Star Trek was not only dealing with the endless history of galaxy exploration, but more with current issues, politics, religion, social tensions, gender, and so on. On DS9, not everything is solved in a peaceful way like before. It's quite the opposite. There are even two big wars, against the Klingons and against the Dominion. Furthermore, Section 31 appears for the first time, but here still mysteriously and completely hidden as an illegal secret organization and not, as later in Fake Trek and Disco/Retard Trek, publicly and officially with its own fleet, headquarters, business cards, name tags and large space advertisements, with the addition Super Strictly Secret Service, which is fully secret. In 1996, the Enterprise travels in Riker actor Jonathan Frakes' Star Trek VIII back in time to stop the Borg from preventing humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. The Borg attack Earth again. Picard and his crew are able to defeat them, and the Borg escape by flying to the Earth's past, leading immediately to its change into a Borg planet, but leading also to the question, why the hell did they even bother to fight in the first place, if they are able to do that? Probably they have to stick to the galactic rules of fair play, aka lazy writing. The Enterprise follows the Borg sphere and has now to make sure that the first contact with the Vulcans really happens. The movie has more than tripled its $45 million budget worldwide back and received rightly positive feedback. And as a movie on its own, it's really entertaining, whereby the action sequences are breathtakingly spectacular, I guess directed by a real pro, but everything in between, especially the scenes on Earth, stretched like chewing gum thanks to Frakes' semi-limited talent as an actor or director. Maybe he should better try to sell pizza. No. Seems also out of reach for him. But maybe if it comes to backstabbing fans by cooperating with Fake Trek and even insulting them directly in the media like the spineless, ungrateful snake he is, yeah, at least he seems really good at that. Oh, hold on. Patrick Stewart gives even less fucks on Star Trek. Sorry, Riker. As usual, just number one at being number two. From my point of view, has this Picard action flick little to nothing to do with Star Trek. He acts completely opposite to his character, has no desire to negotiate, walks over dead bodies, and claims that Borg clones can't be saved anymore, although he himself has been relatively simple transformed back. Furthermore, the Borg suddenly become a monarchy with a queen pulled out of their ass, which turns Borg from an incorruptible, unstoppable, non-negotiable threat into a troop of henchmen with a lady mob boss with whom you can talk, which is later exercised to the point of vomiting in Voyager. In 1998, the Enterprise crew reconvened in Jonathan Frakes' second failure, Star Trek IX Insurrection. For sure, undiscovered country, considering what a pathetic sycophant Frakes has proven himself to be, and refused to relocate 600 people, although they had no problems in TNG when it came to relocating the Space Indians by force. The Enterprise got an emergency call claiming Data apparently went on a rampage. It turns out that he wants to prevent the Baku, who are, thanks to a magic radiation, some kind of immortal, permanently young, hippie, wise guys whatsoever, from being secretly resettled from the planet by means of a hidden holodeck ship. The Federation command tells Picard that they would be able to help millions of people with the magic race, and that the Baku should live somewhere else. That, of course, is ridiculous, assuming the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. What were they thinking? And they start immediately a mutiny. The horribly boring, unbelievable crap did not even make 120 million from its 70 million budget back worldwide, and received quite rightly rather mixed reviews, which in my opinion were still much too kind. It's also the first time that all space scenes were completely CGI, and it really shows. The effects are god awful. It was also the last Star Trek movie that was able to trick me into the cinema. For me, Cinema Trek ended with part 8. After that, the series went straight down to the gutter. The stupid as fuck story makes everything up what fits the narrative, just like real life media. The Federation wouldn't just secretly resettle people in their sleep, but try to negotiate with them. Besides, the Baku themselves haven't been around for that long, 300 years, and only happened to be on the planet by chance, which also goes for their immortality. And the refusal to let the rest of the galaxy also benefit from it seems selfish and therefore comes off unsympathetic. Just like someone who builds his house on the only water source in a desert and therefore blocks the general access to it, don't caring if all the others die of thirst. That's not how societies and the Federation is just that work, except of course in the minds of unworldly wannabe authors. In 1995, Voyager is set in a spaceship again and has, as before, more single problem of the week episodes, some two-parter, and significantly fewer cross-episode/season storylines. Voyager under Captain Janeway makes it to the Delta Quadrant, 70,000 light years away, together with a rebel Maquis spacecraft, which means that even at maximum warp, they would need 75 years to return home. The series is very well done and very entertaining, but in many episodes she explains a bit too much about the Q continuum and especially the Borg, which gives both of them completely unnecessary and stupid backstories. Q is degraded from an almost godlike being to Janeway's fanboy, and the Borg are defeated so often that they can hardly be perceived as a serious threat anymore. In my opinion, the most well-known associations with Voyager are, among others, the Emergency Medical Holographic Program, which develops a consciousness of its own as the series progresses, and of course, Freed from the Collective 7 of 9, a former Borg drone that was assimilated as a child and is now trying to become human again. In 2002, Stuart Baird Star Trek X Nemesis shit makes Star Trek V looks like 2001 and high art in comparison. If you ask yourself now what the until then only director of action movies has now to do with science fiction or especially Star Trek, the answer is nothing at all, like this flick here. After a putsch, Shinzon of Remos, a clone of Captain Picard but actually just a bold actor who doesn't even look like him, becomes suddenly the leader of the Romulans, because that's how they are, I guess. The Romulans are reptilian-like people, which have some undefined telepathic magic powers, if script says so. This race is here for the first time pulled out of their ass, of course, are appearing here for the first time and then later twice in the prequel series Star Trek Enterprise. The Enterprise finds an android which is identical in construction with Data and calls itself B4, originally. Shinzon kidnaps Picard because he needs something from him to stabilize his genes. And he wants to destroy Earth, I guess because he's just evil, who knows. Picard and company can stop his plans and Data gets destroyed. But he's able to back up himself into B4. At least I think so, not really sure about that. The boring as fuck garbage made on a $60 million budget only $67 million back worldwide and was a huge flop, which was quite rightly shot to the moon by audiences and critics. Apart from the plot, which makes zero sense, he's a kind of foretaste of upcoming projects that pretend to be part of the franchise. The viewer has to witness a completely unnecessary telepathic rape scene, wacky beach buggy action as if there were no more shuttles, a completely made up Data before storyline that contributes nothing and doesn't even go anywhere, and so on. But even this turd is still Citizen Kane compared to what is coming next.
The droids, they meet the mysterious woman. Who's that? We don't know. Mystery box, you know.
When the franchise Galactus himself, Jar Jar Abrams, also see Cup vs. Disney, violates with his buddies the already wounded Star Trek over and over, leaving the dead corpse for even more disgrace to spineless lackeys like Klutzman, probably because more effective experts in the field of irreparable franchise destruction like Piss Chibnall don't have the time right now because they were giving the doctor their bad medicine.